welcome to On Track GP right here on DR Sports. What a weekend. It was Miami. We have a new race winner. Finally, it is Lando Norris. I don't know why I'm so happy as a Red Bull fan, but actually it is quite nice to break up the grid. Joining me is Rich, of course, and Robbie. Guys, Miami didn't disappoint.
No, and I think that it's a feel-good result for everybody. I think everybody was happy to see Lando get that win, no matter who you support or anything. You know, it's very well deserved, and it's been a long time coming. For
sure. Rob, you're a McLaren fan as well. I know you're Mercedes, but you love McLaren. I feel like everybody loves Lando. So this is, if it's going to be anyone else on the podium, I feel like we're
I was just shocked. I was saying to you guys before we started the show, I was shocked to learn yesterday that it was his first win. Yeah. I was like almost certain he'd won a race before, but
I thought the same.
His first ever win, you know what I mean? And you can see
so close.
Yeah. He gets quite a few podiums, but it's either P2 or P3 or something like that. And he's, you know, but to get his first win, I mean, I'm just over the moon for him.
And he's such a character. He's such a person that, like, everybody loves him.
Yeah.
Everyone wants him to do well. And it was great for the team, McLaren, and it was just great all round for F1. And it's not a hating on Verstappen.
Sounds like it is.
You know what it is, right? Sometimes I feel a bit sorry for Verstappen when he loses in a weird way, because you know that the whole world wants him to lose.
Of course. It's right? True, but when you're the best,
just because of how good but it's only because of how good he is, because he's just so unbelievable. But it was nice to see someone else and another team on that podium, because I thought that he was just going to walk it. He normally walks the way,
exactly.
Well, it was kind of looking like that. We're going to talk about the race in depth in a minute, but obviously it was also sprint weekend. Did you enjoy this sprint, Rich?
I thought it was an interesting one. I think it kind of showed a bit more of what we wanted the sprints to be, which was a bit more of an aggression, everybody going for it, you know. And we saw a lot of that. Obviously, Danny Rick shocked a lot of people with his performance in the sprint, including myself. Obviously, we saw Lewis Hamilton go for a bit of a kamikaze. Alonso coming out with some fairly, I don't know, controversial comments, shall we say.
Yeah.
But obviously, Magnussen's defending tactics as well. I think it was actually a really good sprint. It was what we want the sprint to be. A lot of action, very intense, a bit of drama. So no, I think it was quite good.
Yeah, just to kind of review that, in SQ1, it was Albon, Gasly, Zhou, Bottas, Sargeant, all that went out. Albon had his lap time deleted, which meant Sargeant qualified ahead of him. And in SQ2, it was Russell, Hamilton, Ocon, Magnussen and Tsunoda that went out. Verstappen took sprint pole ahead of Leclerc and Perez. And as you mentioned there, Ricciardo lined up P4 for the sprint race. We all kind of said, we think this might be the last weekend for Danny Rick. Do you think the sprint maybe saved him?
No, not at all.
Just putting that out there.
Okay. No, because he reverted to type for qualifying in the race.
Yeah, the sprint's interesting because Lance Stroll also was ahead of Alonso in P7, so odd, isn't it?
I don't know. Maybe the time of day and they just had a good Weetabix for breakfast. I don't know.
Yes, there was a safety car as well in that sprint. First corner collision between Lando, Alonso, Hamilton and Stroll. Perez moved past Danny Rick, I mean, pretty easily. I enjoy a sprint race. It's definitely something I wasn't a fan of last year, but I'm definitely more on board with it now. I
don't mind it, and you do get some different drivers sort of coming through in it. I know Verstappen always wins all the sprints as well, but you do get some different drivers sort of, able to, have a chance of winning. So I like it. I remember I had my idea around when they brought it in last year. I came up with this little crackpot idea that as an alternative, but
when you were doing back to front,
reverse grid.
No, not reverse grid.
We've had that one on here.
Mine was like a relay, almost like a relay thing where, so you'd have one. So it'd be a bit like what when you were driving like Le Mans, where one driver drives one part and then the other driver takes over. So it's like a relay type thing.
So like you start with one McLaren and then they stop and say Norris starts. And
then
Piastri finishes.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad idea, actually. It's quite entertaining.
It's not a bad idea.
Hey, don't mind listen, see.
Something there, Robbie.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon they go for it?
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty
I was just thinking it'd make it different, innit? So it's not because in the sprint at the moment, you still get the same well, we didn't actually, but you normally would get Verstappen win the sprint and then win the race. And the cars that do normally well in a sprint will be the same car. But I was just thinking, if it was done like a sort of relay thing where the teammates actually had to work together.
Yeah.
Which they don't really in races, do they? Let's be real.
It's,
they don't.
it's a team sport, but it's the most un-team sport.
In Formula One, the first person you have to beat is your teammate.
Yeah.
That's more than anybody you have to beat.
But in this one, they'd have to work together. So
exactly.
that's
quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, if you like the idea, if you like the idea, then you know what I mean.
We'll put it to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's a good idea, let us know in the comments. Right, let's move on to quali. Danny Ricciardo had an issue with another driver in the pit lane. The V-Carb reported them. We touched on him just briefly, but Danny Rick, do we expect to see him in Europe? Yes or no?
I don't think so, no.
Do you think he'll be back?
Even after the sprint.
Can a sprint save you?
No, because if you just look at, it was one quali and one race, he did a very good job in that. But let's actually look at it in terms of overall at the beginning of this year. I mean, that's 2 good sessions out of how many? Yeah. I'm sorry, but I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I guess so.
You've got so many good reserve drivers just sitting there.
Liam Lawson proven.
Yeah.
You know,
it's true.
He's right there.
Loads from F2. Like, we want to see the new blood.
Yeah.
Right, out in Q1 was Bottas, Sargeant, Ricciardo, Magnussen and Zhou. Out in Q2 was Stroll, Gasly, Ocon, Albon and Alonso. Uncharacteristic for Alonso. Was this just a track that didn't really suit the Astons?
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't have that same zip that they've had in the last couple of races. I think it just didn't suit them really. It's a very different sort of track to what we've been having in the first few races, and I think when we come to the more traditional circuits, we can expect them to be back to form.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Mercedes again didn't have the worst.
No, but they didn't have a good weekend.
They didn't, but I feel like they've just been so crap lately that I guess then they have a bit of a slightly more competitive weekend. Did you think Mercedes looked a little bit better yesterday?
Yeah, they did better in the race though, didn't they? Overall, I mean,
they made
Hamilton had a better race than he's had.
Yeah, that's true.
For a little bit, so
it wasn't the worst showing I've seen from them. Obviously, look, Max took pole ahead of Leclerc and Sainz, which we all kind of expect. Perez P4, Norris P5, and Piastri P6. Russell, Hamilton P7, 8, Hulkenberg P9, and Tsunoda P10. Hulkenberg is doing great in this Haas. Obviously, he's been rewarded. He's going to be at Audi next year. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Hulk in a good car.
I am as well. I think you go back and historically and look what he's done in the equipment he's done it in. He's a very, very competent driver. I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, I think so too. It's 7 poles in a row for Max Verstappen, 3 straight poles in Miami. It looked like it was just going to be another walk in the park for him, didn't it?
That's exactly what I thought. And his record in Miami is good as well.
Yeah.
Hasn't he won the last?
He's won all of them.
He's won
So I was suspecting like you said. I mean,
it was quite a shock because I was racing in Paul Ricard yesterday, and as I boarded the flight, the race started, and I saw Verstappen driving off into the distance.
And you're like, cool, just another Sunday.
And then I landed at Heathrow, and then I put back the live commentary, and Lando was leading. I was like, where's this come from?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting race. I mean, we'll just kind of go into that then. So when we started, I mean, Sergio Perez nearly caused a bit of a red flag at the beginning. Didn't. Just I wasn't quite sure what he was trying to do on that opening turn.
I mean, it's one of those things, honestly, when you go into an opening turn as a driver, you always have these things that go through your head and these plans. And honestly...
You can tell us what was going through his head there.
It never actually comes to fruition.
Yeah.
And you kind of, because you're arriving at a speed which you haven't actually arrived at all weekend, except for the sprint race, and, you've got cars everywhere, and you kind of just have to go like that for your breaking point and kind of hope that it all rolls that way. And to be honest, Sergio normally has been quite conservative at the starts, and I think he just had a bit of a lock-up and a bit of a brain fade, and it's just one of those things.
How hard is it? How hard? Because when they all go off at the start,
it's really like what you can't tell is how little you can see in these cars because you're sat so low. How big the other cars seem when you're behind them. They seem really, really big, and it's impossible to see anything if you're not in the front 2 rows. You've just got cars in front of you. And honestly, you don't look for somewhere to brake. You just brake on feel. I quite often wonder every time you do a standing or a rolling start, how we all seem to brake at the same place and go through the corner in the same way. And obviously, Sergio made a mistake, and he does. It's not true to form for him, but it's very, very difficult. And you're just doing it on feel.
Scary, man.
Yeah. So you're literally putting your life on the line,
and you know that's where the crash is always happening. Isn't it?
It's such a dangerous sport, F1. I don't think people quite understand.
It's pure feel. Like in the sports cars, we do rolling starts, and when you're behind another car, because you're sat so low, the rear wing on the cars are so big, you can't actually see the start lights. So you have to have your engineer on the radio just going ready, 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 green, 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 and then you literally just hear the radio. You don't look at the lights because the cars are so big in front of you, you can't see them.
It's a fair point. Well, do you know what? Someone that did benefit from that was Oscar Piastri. He moved into P3, moved up into P2 ahead of Charles Leclerc on lap 4 as well. He was having a brilliant race, and then the front wing. The front wing happened, and I felt so sad for him because he was having such a good race.
I don't think it will be his last good race. I'm sure he will get it. He will get it one day, and he was
defending well, driving well. He was proper in there, and then just that. It's mad. Such fine margins in this sport. The littlest touch, the littlest clip can just take you out.
And that's the thing. These cars are strong. Like some angles you can hit, and you can have a big whack and nothing happens, but then you just get it slightly at the wrong angle, and that's it. Disaster.
Yeah.
But I feel sorry for him. But again, he's going to. We all know he's going to win races. It's a matter of time.
He's so brilliant.
Yeah.
Like he really is. McLaren have such a good driver line up there. They really do. Sainz kind of did complain about the Perez incident. He also noticed that. He noted that he had more pace than Charles Leclerc in the opening laps. The Ferraris have been super competitive, and I feel like individually competitive this season so far. Obviously, Sainz doesn't have a seat for next year. We're assuming he might end up at Mercedes or maybe Audi, but between the two of them, is this a good bit of competitiveness, or are we calling this a bit of like fighting or not?
I think so, because at the minute it's not got
between
bad.
them, is it?
No,
it's not got bad at the minute. It might do in the future.
It feels like it is bubbling.
It's bubbling, but bubbling's
good.
Yeah, bubbling's good. Like remember when Hamilton and Rosberg were teammates, right? Yeah. And how many battles they had, and that was great for Mercedes. Okay, once or twice it went a bit too far, but you look at the results Mercedes got. When Lewis had his issues, Rosberg was there and won the championship.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. Lando, he was looking and challenging for Perez at one point. We were talking P5. The McLaren, they were kind of keeping up. They looked like they had good race pace kind of all weekend. The lap times they were putting in as well. Then comes the safety car. Then comes the safety car. I mean, I don't know if you want to kind of talk everyone through what kind of happened.
So a lot of people are saying that Lando won this race and there was a bit of luck involved with the safety car timing and everything. And you can certainly...
There's always a bit of luck.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, you can certainly say that. But what every single engineer has, and all the strategists have, is they are looking at every single possible outcome of that race.
Sure.
And so they will have taken into account the potential of a safety car and the chance of a safety car whilst making that early pit stop.
Yeah.
They would have thought about that. They thought they would have checked everything. And so this wasn't through luck. This would have been planned, and everybody else had the same race and the same chance to do what they did.
Well, Max pitted just before the safety car.
Yeah.
And Lando chose to stay out.
Yeah. Sorry, I said Lando. I didn't really pit stop there. I made that mistake.
Yeah. Lando chose to stay out. Obviously, anyone who doesn't know about the safety car, it was Kevin Magnussen and Logan Sargeant shock. Shock from them again. Colliding.
It's home race.
Literally colliding on lap 28. It was the perfect opportunity at this point. Max has just done it. Lando can pit on a safety car.
And it was just one of those things, but they all had the same race available to them. They all had the same possible outcomes. And it was just one of those things. McLaren tried to gamble, because the thing is, if you gamble, then okay, if a safety car doesn't come, then you waste time on the old tyres and you lose the advantage that you could potentially have from the new ones. But if a safety car does come out, your quid's in.
It's funny because I can't really remember another time where the safety car has caught out a Red Bull or caught out McLaren. Caught out
that's a good point.
Verstappen. I can't recall that.
I can't remember the last time anything really caught out Verstappen, if I'm perfectly
exactly.
honest.
And again, I think to win a race, I do think there has to be an element of luck. And obviously that is what happened. The safety car then has to let all the drivers by in order to catch Norris, because he was almost a lap ahead. Allow the right order.
They're so used to Verstappen always The safety car's always full of him, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
What's this orange thing?
So they did bunch up. There was a 10-second time penalty for Magnussen for causing the collision with Logan Sargeant. Green flag went out at lap 32 as Norris held onto that lead. He pulled away through lap 33. Look, I feel like we ended up with almost 7, I think it was about 7 seconds in the end.
Yeah.
So you have to give serious credit to McLaren and also to Lando for holding off Max and building a 7-second gap.
I tell you, I think the one thing we saw with McLaren last year, they started off as the worst team and they got very competitive by the end of it.
Yeah.
Whatever their R&D department does for their upgrades through the season, they've clearly got it nailed on, and they've proven that. And they said that they've been bringing a few upgrades as the season's gone on. We're starting to see that. Lando was seriously competitive in China. Oscar was, but of course he had the damage. Oscar again was competitive here, as was Lando. But Oscar again had the unfortunate incident with the front wing. They're becoming seriously competitive, and I'm actually really excited for the rest of the season. I think that they could actually start challenging the Red Bulls properly.
Did they have upgrades this weekend?
I think they did, didn't they?
I think they did.
Yeah,
but to be honest, even if Formula One teams don't talk about having upgrades, there's always every little bit, little bits here and there coming on. And you don't actually want to reveal that you bought upgrades.
Yeah.
Because then every other team will send their photographers to your car and try and take pictures of everything. So you keep it as quiet as you can.
Big up Lando Norris and big up McLaren, because to me, even after the safety car, I was just expecting Verstappen to just reel him in, and
as he normally does
to win the race, and for him to hold him off and then to build that lead. I mean, that showed you how well they did. The other thing I don't know about you, right, but I don't know. I know it's the first race they've lost, but is this Red Bull sort of? There was a bit in the race, right, where they showed like where the sort of like the team principals. So Horner was sitting there and that, and where Adrian Newey sat, you just saw the name Newey.
Well, yeah.
But no one was sat in the seat.
Well, that's true.
And I was just starting to think to myself, is this now starting? Are we starting to see
the cracks?
The cracks. You know what I mean? No Adrian Newey there. We know he's leaving.
The Adrian Newey thing is going to be a very big issue.
I'm sure that's not that's not why Verstappen's lost the race, obviously. But it just looks significant to me that he's missing. Something's not quite right there. You know what I mean? Even Verstappen's still brilliant. They still got a great car. But is these the sort of cracks now we can start to see that other teams are going to catch them up? Because isn't it next season they're going to have even their own engine, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Their own Red Bull engine. Is that gonna? Does Adrian Newey? Does he go to Ferrari?
Well, yeah.
With Lewis, I mean, it's getting very intriguing.
This is the
thing. Depends how much he wants to, piss off Red Bull.
Well, to be honest,
looks like he wants to.
What is the sole reason that Adrian Newey is going? Is it because of Christian Horner?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
I mean,
I don't feel like we can blame everything on Horner.
I don't think we could blame everything on Horner, but you also, with everything that's been going on and all the press that's coming out, and there's still stuff coming out from like Jos Verstappen and obviously the rumours about Max. Does Adrian need that? With everything that he's done, does he need this, like that sort of stress? Okay, the stress of motorsport and the politics of motorsport is one thing, but there's a lot of external stuff. And does he really need to do that? He's made more than enough money. He's won everything there is to win with all the great teams. He doesn't have to deal with that. So maybe that's just, he's gone, I can't be bothered with this.
I'd love to see him at Ferrari.
I agree.
Next season.
I think that'd be really exciting.
I've got a feeling he might end up at Mercedes.
I don't know. I got the feeling, because he said before in the past he'd love to work with Lewis, didn't he? He said that before.
But he also said that he'd love to work with Fernando.
True. Oh God.
Yeah.
But it's just like the timing of everything, the fact that Lewis decided to join Ferrari, then both of these are shock things, isn't it? Lewis going to Ferrari is a shock. Newey leaving Red Bull's a shock. I don't know, man. They're aligning.
Yeah.
And that would make for an exciting season next year. I'm telling you.
It would make for a really
I just looked at that race and I was like, I know the safety car had a lot to do with the reason why Lando won and that, but I don't know, it just looks significant for me seeing those little things. It's like little signs of little cracks starting to appear at a team that's normally like the ultimate well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And now the Marco thing falling out with Horner. I mean, I'm not sure if Horner makes it till the end of the season.
Well, I think it's going to be a very big call. I mean, I think if the conversation is Max or Christian,
I mean, you got to take Max.
You take Max.
You
I
have
I
to
was reading the other day that Marco, if he was to leave, there's some sort of clause.
Yeah,
in
Helmut Marko.
Max
is
can
allowed
go
to
as well.
Max
Correct.
has said if Helmut
Yeah.
Marko leaves,
Yeah.
he
And they don't get on. It's Marco and
Horner.
Horner who don't get on.
Well, I think, as we say, when push comes to shove, it will be Christian Horner that has
I mean,
to
the
go.
thing is, team management
It's interesting.
is more expendable than a generational talent racing
Absolutely.
driver. It's like if we look at football managers,
Yeah.
there's more world-class football managers than there is actual players who can change your team, like a Ronaldo or a Messi or something
sure.
like that.
It's going to be
Interesting.
interesting what
Yeah.
happens. But yes, there was a little bit of handbags at dawn between Sainz and Piastri. Obviously, that kind of led to the front wing situation. What made me laugh the most was Piastri, obviously, when he was kind of trying to move back up, he was having a little bit of fighting with Danny Rick. And on the radio, McLaren basically said, do not basically fuck this up for us. Please don't. Just stay where you are. We don't want to take this
don't
away
care
from
about
Lando.
P15.
We don't care about what's going on with you. Just stay as you are. Like, let him go. We don't care. Because obviously Lando was on for that win at that point. And Lando, congratulations to him. He took his first F1 win ahead of Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. I mean, this is someone that has become the first driver other than Carlos Sainz or Russell to beat Red Bull within the last 2 seasons.
Shocking.
539 days since a race was won by a driver other than a Red Bull
Wow.
or a Ferrari.
Wow.
That was George Russell in Sao Paulo in 2022.
Yeah, that's shocking.
Absolutely
It's
crazy.
great for the sport,
Yeah.
that victory.
No, it's really cool. And also the other significant thing about it is we talk about the growth of Formula One worldwide, how important the American market is. For that to happen in Miami as well,
Yeah.
that's a really, really important thing.
That's what they want to see, baby.
Exactly.
In America, the more they want it. They want to invest more. It was Lando's 110th race before he secured his first win. For McLaren, it was a big weekend for them because it's the first win on US soil since Hamilton for them at the 2012 US Grand Prix in Austin. Also, first win for McLaren since Danny. That's crazy.
Yeah, imagine now
That's a
like
mad
comparing
stat.
this.
First win for McLaren since Danny Rick's victory at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. That's
Wow.
crazy.
And it's crazy to think that where the discussion we're having about Danny Rick now versus
Danny
that was
Rick then.
McLaren's last
Yeah,
win, right?
I mean, that's absolutely crazy. Max also congratulated Lando. They're very good friends as well. He was very happy about that. And he also said after the race there was a hole in the floor of his car after the incident with the bollard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was, and I'm sure it cost him a bit of time, but 7 seconds is a lot of time.
7 seconds for Red Bull to be behind is
Yeah.
unheard of.
Yeah.
It really is unheard of. Williams, they've been in the news all weekend after the FIA received a request for a super license for Mercedes Junior Andrea Kimi Antonelli. The request is to grant Antonelli a super license despite not being over 18 yet. There's been a lot of talk about Antonelli, hasn't there?
Yeah, I heard that it's been granted, and I'm really quite annoyed about this because it shows the politics within the sport. Because
weight.
yeah, because like Colton Herta, who legit qualified for a super license, and if you remember, they were trying to get him into what was then AlphaTauri, now the RB, 2 years ago, and the FIA wouldn't grant him a super license.
Yeah.
So he wasn't able to go into it, and that was someone who can legit qualify for one. And now you've got them bending the rules for somebody who hasn't completed a full season in Formula 2 yet. I think that's really...
It's quite a risk they're going to take on him. I know he's very highly spoken of, but the idea of this super license and kind of rushing it is to replace Logan Sargeant at Imola, and he'd be the first driver since Max Verstappen in 2015 to be on the grid before his 18th birthday. So they're taking a risk. I know obviously Logan Sargeant hasn't been delivering, but to go all out on Anthony, it's a big risk.
It's a huge risk, but I think that, you know, you have to remember there's a very close relationship between Mercedes and Williams. Obviously, James Vowles used to be at Mercedes, and the engine supply and everything like that. I'm sure there's some incentives for Williams to be considering this, but I think it's very premature. I think that, don't get me wrong, he's clearly a bit special and he's won a lot, but the jump up from Formula 4 to Formula Regional is not big. Formula Regional to Formula 2, which he's in now, is humongous. And he's not won a race in Formula 2 yet. And, to then jump into Formula One, which is another huge step, it's going to be very, very difficult for him.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of premature move, but I think there's no question the kid's special. He's definitely the sort of next generational talent coming through.
For sure. I agree.
But if you've got drivers, if you are going to replace him, you've got drivers like Ollie Behrman available.
Exactly. There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many who are ready to go and have a lot of experience and have proven themselves in that environment. Why don't they take a gamble on him?
Trying to get him before anybody else gets him, I guess.
Yeah.
Snap him up.
Yeah.
Might be smart. Might be the smartest thing they ever do, Williams.
Exactly. But also going against Alex Albon. Alex Albon is a formidable opponent at the minute.
Yeah, Alex Albon's been great. Yeah. But again, who's to say that Alex Albon won't move on?
Yeah, exactly.
People are talking about him maybe going to Mercedes as well.
Which I wouldn't be surprised at one bit.
Right, let's just have a look at this grid then, from back to front. So it was Logan Sargeant who had to retire, Albon, P19, Magnussen, Stroll, Bottas, Ricciardo, Zhou, Piastri, Gasly, Hulkenberg in P11. And then the top 10 was Ocon, Alonso, Russell, Yuki Tsunoda, who had a brilliant race as well. Really, really good.
Again, doesn't help Danny Rick.
No, it definitely doesn't. All the way back down there in P15. Hamilton, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen, and Norris with the final lap time of 1:30. So it's a good little race. That
Yeah, it was.
It's a good race.
It's a good
It
race.
It's a feel good race. You know?
It's a feel good race, and I feel like Piastri would have also been up there.
I agree with that.
Had he not have been clipped. Next one, I've got a little bit of a break, and then we head to Europe. So we got some good racing times. You know, we can watch it not in the middle of the night, so which we love.
Yesterday's racing time went bad.
Yesterday was a good
10 o'clock.
time. That was fine. Last night was no problem. But before that, when you've got the Chinas, the Japans, Australia, you know, we're moving at mad times, guys. Okay, we're up at like 3 a.m. So I'm excited for us to be in Europe. Imola, it's always a great track. One of my favourites. What do you like about heading into Europe and Imola?
Yeah, listen, like you said, the times of the European track.
Selfishly,
you know, because I do like some of the newer tracks though.
Yeah,
the designs and that, like even that one in Miami looked awesome. You know what I mean? So, but these are the traditional.
We like it
races.
traditional.
Need a bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, and these European races. Places like Imola, traditional tracks, historic, you know what I mean? And
it's honestly, when you go to Imola, you can't really believe it when you see it, because it's literally it's a road pretty much built in a park. Like there's legit houses on the side of the circuit. And
love that.
It's really, really cool. There's a school inside the circuit
proper
complex.
Italian little town.
Yeah,
it's very cute.
It's a really, really cool place.
How comes they got two? In Italy.
I mean, I guess the Ferrari effect, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
you would think.
Yeah.
I've been to Monza. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Monza's awesome.
But like,
Monza's in a park. It's just like having a circuit in Greenwich Park.
Yeah. I just wondered how they got two. We only got one, eh?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but to be honest, we've only got one circuit, which is big enough for Formula One.
Imagine if we did a street.
And one time
that would be quite cool.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be quite
nearly
cool.
lost that. Remember, even the one Silverstone, we nearly lost that one.
Yeah. Silverstone.
Well,
Germany got two as well.
No, they alternated between Hockenheim and Nürburgring when they did it.
Yeah.
But we've only got one circuit, which is big enough for Formula One cars.
But I do think it would be cool if we did have a London street zone.
That would be very, very cool.
That would be very cool.
They spoke about that one time.
They did, yeah.
But they're probably charging congestion. So. Can't get away with it.
Let's not get into politics.
Parking,
you
congestion.
get into the pit lane if you charge parking.
The way the parking is in London as well. Guys, thank you so much. It was a brilliant weekend where we finally got to see someone different on the podium. I'm all for it. We all love Lando. And I guess we will just have to dig deep into what's going to happen at Imola next week.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you do like and subscribe right here to DR Sports, where you can catch On Track GP every single week. Take care, guys.